Live and in person, just when you thought you might be safe, ladies and gentlemen, you're not, because here I am, all the way from Epping, New Hampshire, home of 3 of New Hampshire's governors, of which I can only name one fellow by the name of Prescott. Poli-Ticking with Mr. B here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have got a show that is going to inform you in something you're not going to want to miss. But before we go into anything else, probably the most important part of the evening, right at the end, Blazeman, run up the color, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for which it stands, with liberty and justice for all.
Indivisible.
A wonderful flag it is, and an incredible country it is. America, love it or leave it, and there are a lot more people coming to it than are leaving it, and there are some that are coming to it in exactly the wrong way, and we're seeing these sort of things that are going on. It's a very problem, a very large problem. We've got so many problems here in the United States, and not too many ways to fix it. And there are some problems that we point out, some problems that we know about, some that are brought to the forefront by the people that we elect to put in office that are supposed to be doing things in the public's best interest. And ladies and gentlemen, we have someone who's been elected to office. I'm sorry. Wow, I got to see if I can straighten myself out here. Keep going. We've got someone who's been elected to office. This woman couldn't be more crazy than a chicken with 3 beaks. Okay. And she has come out with some of the craziest things. She's also aligned herself with some of the most dangerous people, and that is no laughing matter. But for the purpose of our show this evening, we have some interest, and I'm going to give you a little background here. There is a cause for concern. Talk about things about what they call greenhouse gases and landfill gases and carbon footprints and body, yada, 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 yada. A lot of people don't really realize that there is something here going on that is an issue that needs to be addressed. It does need to be addressed. Something called landfill gas. They call it LFG if you want to go into the alphabet soup land. 40 to 60% of which is contained as methane. Not good. The rest of it would be CO2 emissions. Anybody want to venture a guess out there? I guess, a thought, trip about in your mind. How many metric tons of gas are released by a landfill in cubic feet per day? 1 million tons of landfill trash will produce 432,000 cubic feet per day of landfill gas. That's just one landfill with 1 million tons. God knows how many millions of tons of trash are in the landfill spewed all over Hill of Creation throughout our nation. And that's just the United States of America. 2019, and we're going to go over these again. In 2019, U.S. landfills released approximately how much gas do you think U.S. landfills did? I'm going to put that on hold, and I'm going to say, Blazeman, I think we've got a video of our dear friend Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with her reasoning and her way to put an end to the problem. Do we have that video up there? Can we bring that up, please?
You need to innovate on our technology. You know, right. Obviously, like I had a staffer, release a document that talked about cow flatulence, but
which is an issue. I just want to say,
it
sounds ridiculous, but it literally is an issue.
But it actually is an issue when it comes to contributing to methane.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you end cows. It means that we need what it means is that we need to innovate and change our grain, our cow grain from which they feed in these troughs. That we need to really take a look at regenerative agriculture. Like, these are our solutions.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.
Yes, listen, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the crowning jewels of her entire existence, is the thought that first it's saying that we had to get rid of cows. There's over 1 billion of those bad boys on the face of the earth, by the way, of cattle. Not to mention not just milk cows. We're talking about cattle, all different types of things and so forth. But certainly cows do emit methane, believe it or not. And yes, they do, like so many other living creatures, fluctuate. They release methane gas, but guess what? That's not where all the methane is coming from out of a cow. Ladies and gentlemen, you may remember that we do have cows have 4 stomachs, and they'll eat something, it'll go down to the stomach, then they'll bring it back up, and they'll chew their cud, and they'll go back to stomach number 2, back up, back and forth like this, through the 4 stomachs, and then it goes out. And this causes gas in the stomach, and they're belching. Cows are belching out more methane gas than they are backfiring it, if you will. Just to say this, and now there are people who are trying to say, well, we need to change the way that we feed them, or what we feed them, whatever else. Cows have been eating grass and hay and whatever else since before recorded time. We're not going to be able to do anything by changing it now, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to come up with some kind of yuppified, frou-frou, moronic grain that's going to change the world or whatever else. We start putting some genetically modified organism, whatever it is, stuff inside a cow's stomach. What's that going to do to the milk that people are eating? What's that going to do to the beef that people are eating? Whatever goes in, something gets turned into it and whatever else. But all right. Yes, there is cause for concern about this. Cows aren't the big problem, ladies and gentlemen. What the big problem is our own consumerism rate and what we're doing to dispose of things, shoving it into grounds and so forth and doing things. Now, again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, how many million metric tons do you think in 2019 were released? Would it surprise you if I said 114.5 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent methane emissions went into the atmosphere? 114.5 million metric tons. An inconceivable amount. I don't know about you, but I have no possible way of conceiving how many of those big, round, giant gas vessels that you see on the side of the road over in refineries or whatever else that would take to fill up. One hell of a lot, that's for damn sure. And it's for people who are saying, oh, well, things about the global warming this and climate change that, and whatever else, and blah, yada, yada, whatever else. Okay. Yeah. They are pushing shit out of proportion like you wouldn't believe. But I will say this. Something's going on, because look what's going on over out in the Atlantic. Some of the highest recorded temperatures in the water in recorded history are being exhibited right now. Something's happening, yes. Is it anything that we can control? I'm guessing probably not. The Earth is one hell of a big planet, folks. And we're little old man and woman down over here. There's a lot more water, and there's a lot more land, and there's a lot more mountain, and there's a lot more snow, and there's a lot more whatever trees and whatever else than there are of little old you and me going on out there. 70.4% of the total anthropogenic emissions across the United States. 17.4% is what that other was equal to. That's a hell of a lot of gas emissions 1 year from one direction. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to do a hell of a lot more to control these gases. Now, in order for you to understand and for me to understand better, we do have another tutorial video. Blaze, we've got the gentleman has something that will tell you exactly how things happen with the cows. If you could bring that up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching the Today I Found Out YouTube channel. And in the video today, we're looking at whether cow farts really significantly contribute to global warming. There are currently approximately 1.3 to 1.5 billion cows grazing, sleeping, and chewing their cud at any given time on planet Earth. And these 1,300 pound average weight for both a beef and dairy cow, these animals, they eat a lot. Much like humans, when they eat, gas builds up inside of their guts and has to be expelled. Cows fart and burp a lot. The result is a large amount of methane being introduced into the atmosphere. In a 2006 UN Food and Agriculture Organization report, it claims that the livestock sector, most of which are cows, generates more greenhouse gas emissions as measured in CO2 equivalent, 18%, than transport. According to a Danish study, the average cow produces enough methane per year to do the same greenhouse damage as 4 tons of carbon dioxide. So, is this significantly contributing to global warming? Let's start with how and why cows produce so much methane gas. Cows, sheep, goats, giraffes, and deer belong to a class of mammals called ruminants. Most ruminants have 4 stomachs, 2-toed feet, and store their food in the first chamber of the stomach, called the rumen, before regurgitating it. This regurgitated food is called cud, and the animals chew it again to help further break it down to make it easier to digest. Inside of the rumen, over 400 different kinds of microbes exist that also play a critical role in the digestion process. Several of these microbes create methane gas as a byproduct. Due to the sheer number of cows on the planet, along with the large size per cow, our tasty friends produce more methane gas than all other ruminants combined. Why could this potentially be bad? Well, methane is 21 times more potent at trapping heat from the sun than carbon dioxide. Though it is less prevalent in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide, it is, by unit, the most destructive of the greenhouse gases. Since the turn of the 19th century, methane gas emissions have increased by 150%, according to NASA's Goddard Institute. Methane gas, like all other greenhouse gases, which includes water vapor, acts as a blanket around our planet, trapping heat. The right amount and the planet has an average temperature of a life-supporting 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Too little and the greenhouse effect becomes weak, like on Mars. Too much and the surface of the planet becomes so hot it can melt lead, like on Venus. Livestock is the largest source of methane gas emissions worldwide, contributing over 28% of total emissions. Wetlands, leaks from oil refineries and drills, and landfills also contribute methane gas to the atmosphere. In fact, unlike the ratios on a global scale, in the United States, livestock is only the 3rd largest contributor, behind the mining and transportation of natural gas and rotting landfill waste. It's actually not as much the farting that's the problem. Cows burping and manure contribute more methane gas than flatulence. According to research at New Zealand's largest Crown Research Institute, AG Research, up to 95% of the emissions come from the cow's mouth rather than its behind. It's estimated, through whichever orifice, that each individual cow lets out between 30 and 50 gallons of methane per day. With an estimated 1.3 to 1.5 billion cattle in the world today, this adds up fast. Exactly how significant this is to our global environment isn't something that anyone could easily put a number on, but the EPA, NASA, various global agricultural organizations, and the United Nations all recognize that this is a real problem. In recent years, several different solutions have been proposed. Scientists and experts have experimented with cows' diets to see if it could help cut down on the amount of methane gas. For instance, Welsh scientists studied the effects of putting garlic into cows' feed. According to BBC News, garlic directly attacks the organisms in the gut that produce methane. So far, results have been positive. Researchers have also studied adding plants that are high in tannins to the diet, which are believed to lower methane levels in ruminants. Another branch of study focuses not on lowering the amount of methane gas, but figuring out a way to contain it and repurpose it. Some farms have experimented with having their livestock live in a plastic bubble, which takes the expelled gas and converts it into electricity. But this process is both expensive, inefficient, and considered somewhat inhumane. In the end, methane gas emitted by cows and other livestock does have a significant impact on the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, which are the main culprits behind climate change and global warming. While farts aren't the only way that cows are expelling methane, it is at least accurate to say that cow farts do play a part in our planet's climate growing hotter. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do give us a like below, click that thumbs up button.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take my word for it. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, but facts don't lie. History doesn't lie. Yes, there is indeed a problem. Is it a problem we can solve by putting different kind of feed inside a cow? No. And of course, the idea that they had about trying to use some of the methane and put stuff like a pipe in the cow's backside to pipe the stuff to some sort of a gas to energy plant. Absolutely, positively, unequivocally, incredibly stupid. All right. That having been said, yes, there are things that need to be taken care of. There are things that need to be taken care of. But get a look at this. You want to worry about
how far to the problem?
Yeah, not burning tires like that.
Not 42 million tires burning in the desert.
42 million?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So don't forget, it's the cow farts. It's anything in the West is the issue. It's never anywhere else that needs to cut back or kill livestock.
Nope.
Or stop growing food.
It's almost always America.
You see Kuwait again?
That's right. 42 million tires being burned. All the smoke, all the emissions, all the gases, all of the runoff that goes down into the ground, into the waterways, all the carcinogens released, all the gases that can also be computed into the compilation of all the greenhouse gases. And it's going on more and more and more and more every single day. Because people are doing things the cheap way rather than the right way. Yes, you can very easily recycle. There's so many different ways of recycling tires or repurposing spent tires, used tires, flat tires, whatever, rather than burning them. But there are people who see fit to do that and only that. I don't see any other reason to be doing something like this other than just sheer incredible stupidity and lassitude, laziness. We've got a video for you folks to have a look at, and I'm going to warn you, this is going to be disturbing. Anybody who has a weak stomach, don't watch. Don't watch, because this is going to be something. This is going to be about what's going on over in India. Blazeman, please, by all means, Light it up. Let's see it go.
Thousands of people risk their lives collecting trash in one of India's largest landfills. They sort all kinds of waste, even used syringes. In recent years, fires have become more and more common, threatening people who work here and live nearby. The Balswa landfill burned for 2 months starting in April. When temperatures soared over 110 degrees Fahrenheit in New Delhi. Sahabuddin lost plastic and scrap metal he'd been collecting for years. Firefighters extinguished the open flames after about 2 weeks. But people here are still struggling to breathe because they've lived next to the smoldering plumes the whole time.
उसकी लाइफ तो समझिए बहुत ही नर्क लाइफ है.
As garbage piles up and the planet warms, landfill fires are expected to get worse. We went to India to meet the people who make their living next to a flaming mountain of worldwide waste. Every day, the tens of millions of people that live in the city of Delhi generate 10,000 metric tons of waste. Nearly all of it ends up in one of 3 surrounding landfills.
Now, most of these dump sites have gone beyond their capacity and they're overflowing with waste. And that's the real problem today.
Balswa was supposed to close more than 10 years ago, but it keeps accepting garbage, up to 600 truckloads every day. Backhoe operators like Rahul move the waste to make pathways for the trucks to drive to the top.
जनता के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, सब बना रहे हैं रास्ते.
Around 75,000 people, known in India as rag pickers, make their living in Delhi's dumps.
सारा बिकता है, ऐसा कुछ बात नहीं है. जब अब 1 रुपए किलो बिके चाहे 8 ना, सब बिक रहा है. जब देखो जी, मेन तो हमारा स्क्रैप का काम है, प्लास्टिक का भी है, मतलब रद्दी का भी है, हर चीज़ का है, लेकिन अपना मटेरियल अलग अलग करके जब बेचता.
The average rag picker earns 200 to 300 rupees a day, about $3 to $4, with plastic and metal being the most valuable items collected. Even when they're not on fire, the landfills pose major health risks.
हाँ, मक्खियाँ भी हैं, मक्खियों की से भी दिक्कत है. सुबह क्या, शाम क्या, दोपहर क्या, हर टाइम मक्खी रहती है. देख भी रहोगे आप लोग यहाँ पे, इससे भी दिक्कत है. अब ये क्या, ये मक्खी गंदगी तो है ही है, गंदगी की वजह से खाने वाने पे बैठते हैं, तो उससे भी दिक्कत ही है हम लोगों को. ये तो सब चीज़ से दिक्कत है यहाँ पे.
Dr. Jivasau has been treating patients who work at the Balswa landfill for over 20 years.
डेली कमाते हैं, डेली खाते हैं, मजबूरी है. जो बहुत लेबर क्लास के लोग ऐसे ऐसे 10 दिन महीना दिन कमाया खाया, और जो कुछ बचता है लेकर के गांव भाग जाते, गांव देहात चले जाते.
Balswa doesn't have a proper drainage system, so runoff from the landfill makes its way into the groundwater.
पानी यहाँ बहुत ही बेकार आता है. दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट के भी पानी बेकार आती है, और ऑलरेडी यहाँ तो ज़मीन के जो पानी है लोग ले ही नहीं पाते, कारण ज़मीन के पानी इतनी कड़वी और इतनी जहर है, तो ज़मीन के पानी तो लोग इस्तेमाल नहीं करते हैं.
Scientists use the Air Quality Index, or AQI, to measure air pollution. And India has one of the worst measures in the world. One study said air pollution led to more than 1.6 million premature deaths in 2019. Then there's the odor.
स्मेल की भी गंध जो होती है, उसकी महक वो भी बर्दाश्त नहीं होती है. जब आग लगती है तो उसकी भी महक बर्दाश्त नहीं होती बिल्कुल भी.
Not to mention the everyday dangers of rag picking.
हर तरीके की परेशानी, कहाँ तक परेशानी बताएं आपको. ये देखो, और दिखाऊं आपको, पैरों में देख लो, ये देखो। डर तो हमेशा, आपको पता ही है कि डर हमेशा इंसान को रहती है।
So, how did the landfill fires start? Lithium-ion batteries, which are increasingly entering the waste stream, can spontaneously explode. But in India, the brutal heat wave was the most likely culprit.
कोई लगाता नहीं है यहाँ पर आग, क्यों? इससे तो हमारा काम चलता है, इससे तो हम 2-4 रुपए कमा के अपना पेट भरते हैं।
In addition to plastic and other trash, the methane from decomposing garbage fuels fire. And these fumes contain all kinds of chemicals, which can cause tuberculosis in the short term and cancer if inhaled over a long period of time.
हाँ लगाते हैं, हमारे बच्चे लगाते हैं, स्कूल जाते हैं तो लगाते हैं। नहीं, पार्क वार्क तो यहाँ कोई नहीं है, बच्चे खेलते ही नहीं है, फिर भी तो टाइम ही नहीं मिलता। पहली बात तो इतना, बच्चे स्कूल जाते हैं, स्कूल से घर पे होमवर्क।
The fires make a bad situation worse.
नहीं तो धुआं इतना होता था, पहले रह नहीं पाते थे, इसलिए क्या करूं, कबाड़ा बचाऊं क्या धुएं से मरूं।
Sahebuddin has lived and worked at Balswa all his life.
अब क्या करूं, अपना माँ बाप तो अपना ज़िंदगी हमारा बनाया ही नहीं, ठीक है। 1984 से मेरा यहाँ, ये मेरे 2 भाई का जन्म है यहाँ का पैदाशी।
Hello. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to tell you something. If you're looking, you're seeing people here that have some birth defects and so forth. I'm going to point something out. Mind you, this has been going on for not just a year, but for decades. One of the things that goes on with a landfill, it releases methane, hydrogen sulfide gas as well, which also gets turned into sulfuric acid, especially when the rains come down. But something else happens. When garbage is burned, when a landfill is burned, it goes under these things. It creates something called dioxin, which goes down and gets into the water and into the earth, the soil, the gas up in the air. And what does dioxin do? Ladies and gentlemen? What happens with dioxin? Well, if you've heard of Agent Orange, you've heard of dioxin. Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing the payment for our sins against the earth. We're going to continue this video. When we come back, we're going to take a break for about 3.5 minutes. We will continue this video, and we will come back, and then we'll have some discussion. In the meantime, I want to say thank you very much. Blaze, for being so diligent with this. I also want to take a moment. And recognize the people saying hello, selling messages. Fallon Vega, Jerry, so forth. I want to thank you very much. This is Politicking with Mr. We will be back in about 3.5 or 4 minutes. We'll see you soon.
In the distance, light years from tomorrow, far beyond yesterday, she is watching, heart aching with sorrow. She is broken as she waits, hoping when all is said and done, we learn to love and be as the fallout of a world divided. It brings her tears and so much pain. So we take cover from the dark, hoping to find where we can start. Oh, starlight, don't you cry, we're gonna make it right before tomorrow. Oh, starlight, don't you cry, we're gonna find a place where we belong, where we belong. And so you know, you'll never shine alone. The starlight will find a place where we belong, where we belong. You will see as the mountains fall and turn to dust, that there's one thing that won't change. I believe there is something within each of us that always stays, that will always remain as long as love never fades. Starlight, don't you cry, we're gonna make it right before tomorrow. Oh, starlight, don't you cry, we're gonna find a place where we belong. And so you know, you'll never shine alone. The starlight will find a place where we belong, where we belong. She is watching, heart aching with sorrow. She's broken as she waits.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say thank you very much. Nice to have, pardon me, a breather, especially with this going on over here. Yeah, we have been watching and dealing with things having to do with greenhouse gas emissions and garbage emissions and so forth. And what we've got going on now, ladies and gentlemen, we have been looking on what's going on over in India, and it's not only India where these problems are going on. Excuse me. Yep. It's not only India where these problems are going on. There are first world countries, third world countries, all over the place. I mean, take a look at what's going on over in the Dominican Republic. I've been to that island on 3 different occasions, and on each occasion, things that are very nice and well developed and so forth. They have nice resorts and so forth. And then if you go out and you take some tours around that, you're going to find there are people literally on the side of the road burning large bales of garbage and so forth. So there are problems going on. We're going to pick up where we left off, and then we've got a little hope for you folks to have a look at and see what's going on in the world of dealing with our waste. Blazeman, please continue.
Kinds of chemicals which can cause tuberculosis in the short term and cancer if inhaled over a long period of time.
हाँ लगाते हैं, हमारे बच्चे लगाते हैं, स्कूल जाते हैं तो लगाते हैं। नहीं पार्क वार्क तो यहाँ कोई नहीं है, बच्चे खेलते ही नहीं है, फिर तो टाइम ही नहीं मिलता। पहली बात तो इतना, बच्चे स्कूल जाते हैं, स्कूल से घर पे होमवर्क।
The fires make a bad situation worse.
नहीं तो धुआं इतना होता था, पहले रह नहीं पाते थे, इसलिए क्या करूं, कबाड़ा बचाऊं क्या धुएं से मरूं।
Sahebuddin has lived and worked at Balswa all his life.
अब क्या करूं, अपना माँ बाप तो अपना ज़िंदगी हमारा बनाया ही नहीं, ठीक है। 1984 से मेरा यहाँ, ये मेरे 2 भाई का जन्म है यहाँ का पैदाशी मैं, इसी यहाँ का पैदाशी मैं हूँ, ठीक है, इसी जगह का।
He set aside a large pile of scrap metal and plastic as a kind of life savings he was planning on trading in. Then the fires came.
जब से कबाड़ा चुगना जलने के लिए, जब मेरा कबाड़ा जल गया, जब से मेरा नुकसान हो गया, तब से मैंने कबाड़ा चुगना बंद कर दिया। मंडी में जाता हूँ, भीख मांगता हूँ।
Putting out these fires requires a lot of manpower and equipment.
मेरा काम यही है कि कहीं आग लगे वहाँ जाके आग बुताओ, मशीन से बुताते हैं। 9 से 8 बजे 6 बजे तक रहते हैं, फिर अपने अपने रूम पे जाते हैं सब।
It took 80 trucks and 200 firefighters to quench the flames that burned from April to June. But mostly, these fires fizzle out on their own.
हाँ पहले भी मतलब 4-5 दिन लगे थे, अब क्या तो भैया वो एक महीना से ही होने को आ रहा है धीरे धीरे करके। पिछले साल भी लगी थी जब हम आए थे यहाँ पे, जब भी लगी थी, और इस साल तो और ज़्यादा ही लगी है।
It is only improves in certain months which are in and around monsoon. After the monsoon, you will find that because of the heavy rainfall, it subsides and your particulate matter goes down and the air quality just comes up a little bit. So the respite is for a brief period.
Locals want these sites removed.
गवर्नमेंट से यही कहेंगे कि इसको या तो हटा दो या फिर यहाँ कुछ बनवा दो, जिससे मतलब पेड़ पौधे लगा दो, जैसा शुद्ध हवा आए, इससे वातावरण अच्छा हो, तो सबको मतलब खुशहाली मिलेगी इस चीज़ से।
And the local government was fined nearly $65,000 for not taking proper measures to prevent the fire. The Delhi government told us it's working to remove all 8 million metric tons of waste from this site by the end of 2023. Since 2019, the government has operated what are known as trommels that separate recyclable trash from what can be burned to create energy. The rest of the leftovers are supposed to get moved to a different dump site. Delhi plans on opening another waste processing facility here by 2025 and is supposed to expand services for rag pickers. Activists say one solution to the ever-growing landfill is separating the waste before it gets there.
If you can reduce the waste amount by taking away the recyclables and the wet waste or the bio waste, very small quantities will go to the landfill.
Despite the increasing garbage problem, the amount of waste Indians create per person is far lower than richer countries. Every day, the average American throws out 8 times as much plastic garbage as the average Indian. But India's recycling industry is kept afloat by informal rag pickers who make pennies a day.
तो कबाड़ा तो अगर नहीं चुगा जाएगा तो बहुत दिक्कत है। इससे तो बहुत जो चुगने वाले से लेके फैक्ट्री वाले तक, तो इससे तो बहुत बड़े-बड़े पैसे वाले लगे जुड़े पड़े हैं।
For years, India's federal government has tried to crack down on waste with tougher laws, banning most single-use plastic.
I think everything has been prescribed, but unfortunately, it's the state government and the municipal people who are not following the rules at this point of time.
While these solutions are debated and parts of the landfill continue to smolder, the people dependent on it go out for another day of work because they have no other choice.
काम ही यही है, ये तो जलता ही रहता है, कभी पत्थर आके गिर रहा है, कभी आग जल रही है, तो ऐसा तो चलता ही रहता है।
इतना मेहनत है बाबूजी, अब हम कहाँ करें, हमारे बात तो कोई सुनवाई नहीं है। इस ज़माने में वही तो बात है ना, जिसका पैसा है उसी का वोट है, जिसका पैसे नहीं है उसका कुछ नहीं है इस दुनिया के।
हो सकती है पर क्या करें, इतना मजबूरी है तो चलाना ही पड़ेगा।
बेकार है भाई साहब, ये ज़िंदगी से बेकार है, फिर भी इंसान क्या करे, पेट से पालना ही है।
Well, wasn't that delightful, ladies and gentlemen? Certainly was eye-opening. I couldn't believe myself when I saw this. And we have people that are doing things with the World Health Organization that are trying to turn around and say we're going to take and do crazy things about turning everything into one, this, that, or what. They're not, and there's nobody addressing these problems the right way that they're doing because obviously, look what's happening. At this moment, I'm not going to sit here all alone. I'd like to bring in my compadre, my counterpart, my engineer Blazeman. Would you come in here for a couple minutes? We want to do a little talking here. I believe there's something.
I am honored to come in, and I
thank
always
you very
like.
much.
And thank you. I always like when you ask me to pop in and stuff because it's tough for me to sit back here and produce the show without wanting to just come in. But you're doing absolutely fantastic tonight. But I'm like
Thank
more
you.
in. I'm more in a like what the fuck? The trash that country produces is insane. You know what? Do we produce more trash than that? I'd
Well,
like
you
to
have
know
to
that.
look.
I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to check that out. Secondly, it's like I can't believe on this planet, in this world, that people live like that.
First world problems in a third world country, my friend.
Imagine if those countries rised up against us.
I don't know what to tell you. I honestly don't know what to tell you. They themselves were thrust into a life and a lifestyle that wasn't theirs.
Hello, Clarence.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. B.
Okay, that wasn't theirs, and look what it's done.
Yeah, but
Look what it's done.
like the United States is like totally mental in the fact that it's always the United States. Oh, you got AOC, you got this with the FOTS, and I mean Burger King even made a real commercial about the cows and flatulence and stuff, right? And the United States has the most least admissions than any country in the world. Well, probably not Portugal and stuff like that, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
India is off the charts. Where are their regulations? What do we do in the World Health Organization when they
Mired
talk
down
about
in
that?
corruption. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
but
pull any punches. I never have. I never will. Mired down in corruption.
really,
That's where their regulations are. That's where their protections are. That's where their laws and their legal system is. Mired down in corruption.
unbelievable. I'm gonna let you continue with that, Mr. B. And thanks for letting me pop in, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is insane. I don't even understand how people look at that. Look, you know what? Maybe on the way we see it, I don't know. We have to have production meetings and stuff and talk, which you know, Mr. B, because you're part of the panel on the way we see it. But I watched a slavery documentary on PBS the other day, and my God, my God, I'll leave everybody with that.
This last segment, we're going to throw a ray of hope, ladies and gentlemen. There is an industry that we've known about, we've had for many, many years, that unfortunately some powers that be and some monies that be don't really want advanced. But we're going to see what we can do about it. Let's have a look at this. So we've got, I believe, that segment, I believe, was from CNBC about garbage to energy plants. Let's take a look. Now, do we have that available? I hope. Well, okay, while we're waiting for Mr. Blazeman to get that, garbage to energy plants have been around for a great deal of time, and there have been incredible advancements. Not just taking and shoveling whatever kind of garbage into a boiler and turning it into steam and running steam turbines and the pistons and turning the whizzies, Clicos, and Gornacs and whatever else that makes the electricity go on. No, there is a lot more to it than that, and it is far more efficient, far more clean energy efficient than there can possibly have been back in the 60s when things really started ramping up with this type of technology in this industry here in the United States. I can remember when I was a child, we went to a place back in my hometown in Connecticut that on the outskirts of the city there was a place that was a garbage processing plant, but it wasn't garbage to energy, but they were taking sorting things and burning it, and eventually the word had gotten out that hey, really isn't such a great idea, guys, because guess what we're finding out is coming out of it. So they shut it down right quick, and then the age of the landfill really came in to full swing. So that having been said, there were so many changes that had happened with the garbage collections and so forth, and people who had their own backyard incinerators were told shut them down. I can even remember going over my grandparents' house. My great grandfather was a bricklayer, and he and his brothers were a bricklaying team, and they actually built a personal garbage incinerator behind my grandparents' house, which they doubled as a barbecue. And for years, the house garbage was going into this thing, burning the garbage, and out in front of it, they had a grid over there where they're cooking our hamburgers and hot dogs and steaks and sausage. Well, not going on anymore. Thank God. Uh, having been said, yeah, I hopefully we've got we've got that video coming up going on, but I can tell you this right now. I don't know what they did eventually after all of that. I just remember it was discontinued, and places all over the place were just dismantling the things, and I hadn't seen it for years. I don't know what happened to it. But thank God it's not going on anymore. I believe we've got our video coming up now, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, we're going to have garbage to energy.
Paper, plastic, metal, glass. Even if you've been really good about separating out your recyclables, there's always something left over. What happens to that? It doesn't have to go to a landfill. Waste-to-energy plants are turning trash into power. Non-hazardous residential and commercial waste is delivered to a facility where it is combusted in a specialized chamber, creating steam that drives a turbine that makes electricity to power homes and businesses. State-of-the-art emissions control systems cool, collect, and clean combustion gases. All this is continuously monitored to comply with state and federal standards. At the end of the process, metals like steel and aluminum are recovered for recycling, and remaining residual materials are beneficially reused or disposed of in a landfill.
Like
well,
steam.
There you go.
It's like steam, right?
Yeah, it's like the engine of a steam locomotive.
Exactly. That's incredible. It's so easy and probably the cheapest thing to build. Okay, you know what I mean? And as you're burning that, I don't care if it, if it powers a couple of 100,000 homes. You know what I mean?
It's
That's
a
a small
little
city.
more involved than that, because there has to be certain types of scrubbers that scrub the effluent or the smoke or whatever else
Yeah,
that
like
come
the
are generated from
incinerator.
and so forth, and the
Like the old
exhaust gas
incinerators.
recirculator and reburner and so forth. There's a whole
Yes.
bunch of it that goes on, but
Again,
unfortunately,
like the
a lot
old
of people haven't
incinerator.
been made aware of this, and for whatever reason, uh, there are a lot of people that have been going dead set against it and so forth. And no, I think that we should be reaching out to each and every possible aspect that we can for generation
That's like
of
the city of Fall River. We had an incinerator. You know,
yeah,
they condemned it, and just for those reasons, the brush of things that you're talking about. But I mean,
right.
we gotta get rid of this trash. You know, in New York, they ship that shit on on giant flatbed boats in New York and ship that shit out because there's no landfills around there no more.
And they shove it off into the ocean.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
And it washes up on some poor third world country schmuck's land.
And,
I don't know.
Greta Van Poopoo turns around and says, "How dare you!"
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a problem. There is a terrible problem with pollution. There is an absolutely disgusting problem with plastics that are washing up all over the place, doing things to the environment which never should have happened. But there is a way of dealing with this all properly and rightfully, and for whatever reason, people are just being stupid and cheap about it. They are abusing the land. They are
I have the
abusing.
proper video for it now, Mr. B. I just wanted to
What's
give
that?
you viewers a quick idea on how it worked, but I have a proper proper video for it now, and we'll open up this video. I'll give you your allotted time to close out with the video, and then we'll make it a night.
Fair enough. Let's see what we got here.
Drives a turbine that generates electricity. The technique we're going to look at is widely used around the world. You'll notice that all the plants are very big. This is a process that works best on a large scale. Incinerating waste creates emissions and residues, and part of the process is focused on dealing with these. Achieving a high rate of efficiency with a low volume of byproducts is the aim. There are many
That looks like exactly like the one we had here in Fall River.
Yeah.
To set up this kind of waste-to-energy system, you need a stockpile of waste, a furnace, a boiler with heat exchangers, a water supply system, a turbine, and a generator. The waste is collected and delivered to the plant, where it is stored in large bunkers. It's transferred from the bunkers to a chute, leading to a moving grate in the furnace below the plant's boiler. The temperature in the furnace is very high. The gases in it are heated to over 850 degrees for at least 2 seconds to make sure all the waste gets burned completely to form stable end products. The residue left behind is called bottom ash and is non-hazardous. It's usually sent for recycling and is often used by the construction industry. Around 20% by weight of the waste ends up as bottom ash. The intense heat from the furnace rises into a series of chambers in the boiler. The idea is to capture the thermal energy as efficiently as possible. In the boiler are heat exchangers, a series of pipes filled with water, a bit like a household radiator. The heat vaporizes the water to form superheated high-pressure steam. This is sent to the turbine, where it encounters a series of turbine blades. The high-pressure steam forces the blades to rotate at high speed, driving the generator in order to make electricity. The electricity is fed to the power grid for use by industry and the local community. Water travels through the system in a closed-loop cycle. After passing through the turbines as steam, it is allowed to condense and is then returned to the heat exchangers to be heated again. Some waste-to-energy plants incorporate a district heating system into the cycle. The low-pressure steam from the turbine heats a second closed water loop, leading out into the community, where it in turn heats individual systems. Gas emissions from the boiler are known as flue gas. Flue gas must be treated before being released from the plant's chimney stack. It's processed using a series of absorption, scrubbing, and filtering systems. There are two other types of waste product. The first is the wastewater that wet flue gas treatment plants produce. This is treated, then released. The second is fly ash, which contains toxic chemicals and consists of solid particles in the flue gas. Fly ash is sometimes treated, sometimes not, but either way it must be disposed of as hazardous waste. Fly ash represents less than 5% of the waste input of a waste-to-energy plant. Waste-to-energy, or energy from waste, technology, is continually under development. Today, the most advanced plants using the technology we have described are up to 98% efficient in capturing the energy they generate. However, there is debate about the effects on health of incineration and its byproducts, and about the CO2 produced. The UK and the EU have stringent controls on emissions, and all emissions and residues are monitored closely in the UK by the government's Environment Agency. There are various other forms of waste-to-energy processes. Some examples are gasification, which produces combustible gases, anaerobic digestion, which produces methane-rich biogas, and pyrolysis, which produces bio-oil. Investment in waste-to-energy plants does depend on our continuing to produce burnable waste, which some might see as an incentive to create it. There is also debate about the indirect environmental impacts of making biofuels. Whatever the process used, the objective is to reduce volumes of waste, in particular to send as little as possible to landfill. The UK government estimates that waste-to-energy processes will account for 25% of municipal waste treatment by 2020. Waste-to-energy technologies recover value from our waste and are therefore a source of renewable energy.
That having been said, ladies and gentlemen, there is a bright light at the end of this tunnel, and it is, I firmly believe, the use of garbage to energy or waste to energy or whatever you want to call it, transmission plants. It's a hell of a lot cleaner and a hell of a lot better way than just piling up and letting things happen like what's going on over in India. What's been going on here in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Something we need to make more investment in. One thing's for damn sure. It's not killing eagles like wind farms are. And it's a hell of a way to take care of something nobody ever really had a good idea of how to deal with, except for shove it in a hole and cover it over and walk away. Wrong thing to do. All right. All of that having been said, I want to reach out and say thank you very much to my engineer this evening, Blazeman. I also want to thank the people who have produced these videos that we've watched and thank them for educating us. I want to thank the people who are watching, who've been sending messages and writing things and so forth and interacting. Thank you very, very much along with that. I'm Mr. B. This has been Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. Believe me, if at all possible, if there's something that is noteworthy, that is substantive that we can take to add to this, we are going to follow up with it. In the meantime, if you've got something you'd like to say about this, please write in, say us, give us some sort of direction or add in what your thoughts are about this particular situation, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a hell of a mess. And it's not only because of cow farts, it's because of humanity. I'm Mr. B. This has been Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. I wish you a very good evening. We'll see you all again next week. Take care, everyone.